Hey man, it's me, Kevin Smith, Silent Bob, and all those terrible Jay and Silent Bob type pictures, man. You're listening to Drop the Mic, the only podcast that I listen to that I'm not a part of. Every podcast I listen to, I usually talk on it, but not fucking Drop the Mic. That's where I'm like, let me hear what the boys have to say. And now, we drop the mic.
She's one of the best investigators I had.
But?
She's different.
In what way?
In every way.
Something wrong with the report?
Anything you chose not to disclose?
He's clean, in my opinion. He's honest.
Her credibility isn't dead yet.
Mine is.
He's had a long-standing sexual relationship with his co-editor of the magazine. Sometimes he pleasures her. Not often enough, in my opinion.
No, you're right not to include that. I need your help.
You come stay on the island. A way of avoiding all those people you might want to avoid right now. You will be investigating thieves, misers, bullies, the most detestable collection of people that you will ever meet. My family. This is Harriet. Someone in the family murdered Harriet. And for the past 40 years has been trying to drive me insane. Those are from her, and the rest from her killer.
Welcome back to our humble San Diego podcast. We're your hosts, Wesley Swanson and Ryan Jimenez, and we are Drop the Mic. This is episode 343, We Could Wait Forever, where we'll be discussing 2011's The Girl with a Dragon Tattoo. But first, let's get caught up with some of our usual warm-up segments. What's up, Ryan? How are you? Welcome back.
What's up? How's it going?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. No complaints on my end.
And now for a special news report. Brought to you by Drop the Mic.
What do you have on the news front for us this week?
Quite a bit. First off, The Exorcist Deceiver has been removed from its release calendar as David Gordon Green exits the sequel. I know we kind of went off on a tangent on the last episode, but what are your thoughts? Who would you like to see replace him? And do you think they should just kind of scrap it, and start over again?
It's probably in David Gordon Green's best interest to have exited the way that he did, with the massive haters. I think that if they had went through with the sequel with him helming it, probably wouldn't work out financially anyway. As far as people to take over, I've always thought Mike Flanagan might do something special with this property, but I'm sure there's a handful of people that could do something with it. And then as far as whether they should just shelve this project, it's kind of like a Scream 7 situation where that would be the smart idea, but unfortunately I think the studio has too much money wrapped in how much it took to secure the rights. What was it, like $300 million just to be able to produce these films? So they probably have their backs up against a wall where they have to produce something. But what do you think?
I mean, obviously I would want that story to continue, just because I know, you were a fan of that story. I was a fan of that story. So I'd like to get an ending to at least the girls, the two main character story, because obviously they left it open. It does suck that Gordon Green had to exit, and I'm pretty sure he felt the pressure. But like you said, it was probably in his best interest. A name I think could do it, and him, Blumhouse and his company just kind of merged. But James Wan, dude.
I hadn't thought about that, but possession and demons definitely seems to be his wheelhouse, and I, there's no way that he hasn't thought about that. I would think that it would be in the back of his mind, right?
But I guess we shall see. Hopefully, it's still. I know it's cutting it close, but I know we were supposed to get. It was supposed to be like Halloween, right? Where we got one every year.
Yes.
So hopefully that still is the case. But the Fantastic Four has pushed back its filming start date to Q3 of this year, and then with that, I guess Pedro Pascal has dropped out of Zach Cregger's Weapons to clear his schedule, which is a big bummer.
That leads me to believe that he thinks that that's going to be Fantastic Four is going to be a big, massive hit, whereas Weapons is more of a gamble, right? Could be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, either way, it's a win-win for us because we get him either as a superhero or as I think he was going to play like the main character, which was like I don't want to say it was like an investigator or something. He was investigating occult shit in that movie. But yeah, hopefully they have something up there. Zach Cregger has something up his sleeve and they get someone else to star in it. Someone good. Speaking of movies like that, have you seen any of the teasers for Longlegs, Neon's big horror movie?
Yes, I have. And they're very creepy.
Did you see the one that dropped today?
No, I didn't.
It's good. It's like the same, like kind of like 10 seconds, super quick. Does not show you any. It shows you something. It doesn't say anything. The way they're going about it, dude, I think it's gonna just crush the box office, and then I'm sure people's expectations will be high. But I mean, for who's starring in it, looks like, and the way they're going about it, it looks like it's going to be a fucking banger, dude.
Can't wait. Do we have a release date for that?
No, nothing. I'm sure it's soon, because they're ramping up and doing all these teasers, and the new one they just dropped. And I think I saw somewhere online after that trailer job, like a poster, but I wasn't sure if it was official. But yeah, man, I can't believe we're going to get fucking Nicolas Cage in a role like that. Regina Hall has been cast as the female lead in Paul Thomas Anderson's next film alongside Leonardo DiCaprio. How do you feel about that?
I think that's exciting. I'm a big fan of Paul Thomas Anderson as a filmmaker. DiCaprio is always stellar, and Regina Hall is great. It's an insane cast lineup, and I'm excited to see what magic they come up with.
I'm stoked for Regina. I think I'm more stoked for Regina Hall than for Leo to be working with PTA. And then we got some Star Wars news this week or last week. A brand new Star Wars movie directed by Jon Favreau, titled The Mandalorian and Grogu, is on the way, and the film is set to start production this year, which is crazy. So that means we're not going to get a new season of The Mandalorian. I don't know, dude. I love Mando and I love Grogu, but at one point does that little shit start talking and fucking growing? He's just going to be a passenger princess the rest of his life? Hopefully it time jumps a little bit. So we got some Dark Side of the Ring news. Season 5 will be it'll be returning for its 5th season, and then today we got some news on who the season will cover. Apparently it's going to cover Chris Adams, Brutus Beefcake, Kurt Angle, The Sandman, Buff Bagwell, and Black Saturday will all be featured. A little bit more wrestling news. AEW star Swerve Strickland is set to star in an upcoming slasher movie called Stiletto. The film is being described as a throwback to 80s slashers, and when I read about it, I don't know who he's playing, but from what I read about it, it follows a young girl who's a dancer in Atlanta, and I think it's her sister who was killed like a year before that, who was also a dancer, and the killer comes back. The killer comes back and she kind of tries to figure out who the killer is who killed her sister. So seems interesting. Swerve is awesome. It'd be cool seeing him on the big screen.
In a slasher, no less. That's exciting.
Yeah.
To piggyback on your wrestling news, have you heard about that I guess Netflix is producing some kind of Vince McMahon special on his life?
No, but that's gonna fucking be insane if they do that.
Yeah, I guess it was originally supposed to be one way, and I guess they kind of scrapped their original idea, and now it's going to go into not only like his early life and everything, but also go into the controversy surrounding him with what happened, with over the past couple of years and him stepping down from WWE and everything. So I think it'll be pretty interesting to see.
Well, especially with him still being alive, I'm sure he's fucking can't hate that shit.
Well, I guess he's a part of it.
How Vince is.
He's a part of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, he was interviewed for it, so he's I think he had a lot to do with to getting it made.
Ari Aster's next film, Eddington, is set to start production in March, I think in New Mexico, and the film is rumored to be a Western comedy starring Emma Stone, Pedro Pascal, and Joaquin Phoenix.
I wonder how it's going to be. After going to see Beau is Afraid, and I know a lot of people, that movie is very divisive because it's very, it's very unorthodox with its structure, very fucking long. A lot of people disliked it, and, it's going to be cool to see where Aster goes from there as far as what kind of story he's trying to tell. The fact that it's going to be a Western is pretty cool. And he's got, some new talent on board along with Phoenix returning. So, yeah. First up on my side, the Radio Silence team that brought you Ready or Not and Scream 5 and 6 have a new trailer out, and it's a vampire flick starring Melissa Barrera, Dan Stevens, and the late Angus Cloud. The movie's called Abigail, and it should be dropping everywhere April 19th. Have you seen this trailer yet?
I have. It looks fucking awesome. Can't wait, dude. Especially with Melissa and everything she's gone through with that Scream franchise and all the backlash and everything. And
yeah, I'm right there with you. It looks very, very campy, very, and there's supposedly a Universal Monsters connection.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, with it. And as you said, like seeing Melissa on screen and that this team, they obviously have great chemistry and they have a great working relationship. So it was cool to see them kind of bring her on board through another studio for this. And of course, Angus Cloud, I was a big fan of his work in Euphoria, and has since passed away. So it's going to be awesome to see this essentially his last full project and how he did. All right, moving on. In some kind of dark, shitty news, actress Mia Goth is now under the microscope after claims of abuse from a background actor on the upcoming Ty West film Maxine. So, as the story goes, this background actor is accusing Mia Goth of intentionally kicking him in the head during a take, and then after kind of berating him and talking shit to him after the fact. As I feel like I've said this before on the news, we tend to judge actors and actresses based on their body of work, and we feel like we know them or how they could be in real life. But the truth of the matter is we do not really know them on a personal level. And with Mia Goth on the rise over this last couple of years, and as one of the newer fresh faces of horror and genre film, it's kind of disheartening to have this news come out, especially with Maxine, the premiere of Maxine, kind of pretty close by, and it's the supposed to be the conclusion to Ty West's X trilogy. This could be kind of hurtful. for both A24 and Ty West. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, man, it definitely sucks. Like you said, we kind of just think we know people just because they're in the spotlight and things like that, and then stuff like this happens. But like anything, dude, like it sucks for that extra man, and it sucks for everyone else involved in that film as well.
Agreed. So to close out our news bits, in a strong light, Danny Boyle is returning for 28 years later, which is being written as we speak. Very exciting stuff. I don't know. I don't think they've announced whether Cillian Murphy will be back. That would be great. I'm a big fan of the original 28 Days Later, and 28 Weeks Later is a pretty solid follow-up. Very anxiety-inducing stuff, and I think enough time has passed where kind of rounding out the trilogy would be really cool. I hope they produce something special. Yeah, man, how awesome would that be if they can bring him back after all the awards he's winning and Oppenheimer and things like that? It'd be fucking awesome. Yeah, that would be the smart thing to do marketing wise, right? Because you have Cillian Murphy, who's now, although he's been a star for a long time, I think Oppenheimer right now has kind of shot him into the stratosphere as an international star. So to see him return to something, his roots would be something very, very cool, and I hope it happens.
And now it's time for the weekly recommendations.
Okay. First off, I went to go see a while back. I saw Poor Things, directed by Yorgo Lanthimos, starring Emma Stone, Mark Ruffalo, William Dafoe, Rami Youssef, Christopher Abbott, and Gerard Carmichael. Dude, I can't. I know we talked about it off air, and if you follow me on social media, you know how much I loved it. But man, I can't say anything bad about the film, man. It's perfect. That shit crazy. It's funny. It's smart. Emma Stone is perfect in it. Mark Ruffalo probably next to. I think I like his supporting role a little bit more than Ryan Gosling's Ken in Barbie. I don't know if I like it as much as Downey Jr.'s just in Oppenheimer, just because he was so fucking powerful in it. But man, Mark Ruffalo is the performance of a lifetime, man. He is insane and fucking hilarious in it. Another thing starring Emma Stone, I started watching The Curse on Showtime. I think like 2 or 3 episodes in. It stars Nathan Fieldman and Benny Safdie. Yeah. And it's they're co-creators, Benny and Nathan. And I think they're co-writers as well. It's fucking good, dude. It's some of the best TV you'll see. Super funny. Very, you're going to be cringing the entire time. And the message is pretty fucking hilarious and spot on. So I don't know if you've seen it yet or started it.
I have not, but it is on my list for sure.
I think it just finished a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, The Curse, check it out. I am almost done with Ted, the TV show based on the movies with Mark Wahlberg and Seth MacFarlane. It's on Peacock. I think there's like 6 or 7 episodes. I think I'm on the 5th episode. If you love those movies, if you love Family Guy and Seth MacFarlane, you'll love this. It's just fucking stupid. That fucking dumb comedy that Seth MacFarlane is so great writing. But I loved it, dude. And if you love those movies, like I said, you'll love Ted. And I think we talked about it off air, but the guy who's playing Mark Wahlberg, dude, his fucking accent is so spot on. Like, you can close your eyes and it sounds like a young Mark Wahlberg's Boston accent, dude.
That's on Peacock,
And I
right?
saw an interview. Yeah, I saw an interview saying that he wasn't trying to do he didn't want to do a Mark Wahlberg impersonation. But dude, it just sounds exact. That's exactly what he's doing, dude, because it's so spot on. Yeah, check out Ted on Peacock. And also too, I saw some crazy thing that it took an insane amount of visual effects artists to do all those episodes, dude. Over 3,000 VFX shots were used to animate Ted. And Seth MacFarlane performed motion capture work for 2 hours per week for 22 weeks, which is crazy. I wouldn't think they would do mocap. I think that they would just have a stand-in teddy bear. And then I have a couple more recs. I'm reading a new book, my first book of January, called Beautiful Losers, by the great Leonard Cohen. I had never read anything by him, and he is insane. I don't know if you're familiar with his music.
Yes,
Sure
of course.
But yeah, dude, his writing is fucking out there. That man was a very horny man. But I love it, dude. It's kind of crazy, kind of different from what I'm used to reading. But check it out, Beautiful Losers by Leonard Cohen. I think it came out in the 60s. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to dig into his catalog of writing and more of his music because I dig it a lot.
All right, I have 3 for you tonight. We'll start off with a little film called Suitable Flesh. It's the newest film from writer Joel Lynch. It stars Heather Graham, Judah Lewis, and Barbara Crampton. The film takes inspiration from an H.P. Lovecraft story and is hugely enjoyable with plenty of gore and oh shit moments. Right now, I think it's available physically on Blu-ray and then digitally through Amazon and Apple, things like that. And I believe because it was produced by Shudder, it's going to be coming to Shudder at the end of this month. So if you have either Shudder or AMC Plus apps, you'll be able to watch that movie through there. So definitely check it out. Great kind of genre film, very dark and weird and creepy, just like the title. It was awesome to see Heather Graham kind of do something like this because it's a kind of go for broke performance. Another kind of body swapping story where your main players have to really commit to these roles, and they do in this, and it is unrated. So a lot of crazy shit happens, and if you like horror movies, things like that, if you enjoyed stuff like Freaky, this one is for the books. Huh?
I was just going to bring that up. So it's kind of like Freaky a little bit.
Yeah, but it delves even deeper, more depraved.
It's cool to see her do something like that, but just in general, just seeing her do something,
Yes. And Judah Lewis is from The Babysitter 1 and 2. He's now in his early 20s. He's definitely a star, man. So check this out for everybody who hasn't yet, or maybe you don't know about it. Suitable Flesh, Joel Lynch, great. And check out his other film, Mayhem. I also watched the first episode of the new True Detective Season 4. It's called Night Country, with Jodie Foster and Callie Rice. Don't listen to any of the negative stuff that you're hearing on the internet, the buzz around this, because it seems like it's going to be a very solid season. So as long as they're able to keep up the momentum that's happening within this story, it's going to be a great addition. And then rounding out my weekly recs, I've been getting into, finally, Reacher, which is on Prime. It's 2 seasons deep. I'm only a couple episodes into the first season, and Alan Ritchson, man, as Jack Reacher, is fucking rad. Again, he is a star. The choreography, the action, the just that charisma and presence that he brings is like hugely watchable. I found a scene online. I can't remember if it was TikTok or somewhere from this show. Had no idea about it, and it got me to pull up Prime and check it out. And I was very engaged. And I'm going to continue and finish these 2 seasons. But so far, I'm with it. It's great stuff. Great storytelling.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And now for the movie focus of the week.
So, this week we're talking about The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. It's rated R. It's from 2011. It's a thriller crime drama. It runs at 2 hours and 38 minutes, and it's got a well-deserved 86 on Rotten. It's written by Steve Zalian, directed by the great David Fincher, starring Rooney Mara, Daniel Craig, Christopher Plummer, Stellan Skarsgård, Jolie Richardson, and Robin Wright. The film follows a journalist who is recruited to investigate the disappearance of a young girl in Sweden. The catch is it's 40 years. There's 40 years that have passed. As he realizes the case is much more sinister than expected, he recruits a young hacker to assist him in the case. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is an American adaptation of the Swedish book series. Sony first seeked out the rights in 2009, eventually securing them, while the original Swedish film adaptations would first appear for the world. Hiring screenwriter Steve Zalian to pen the script, without having any prior knowledge of the source material, director David Fincher would soon follow, and the two would have an openly collaborative relationship for the screenplay, taking 6 months to complete. Although the film is technically an American take, the pair wanted to keep the overall setting of Sweden, with most of the production taking place in Stockholm in 2010. However, certain parts were filmed in Switzerland, the UK, Norway, and the US. The film would gross $239.3 million worldwide against its budget of $90 million, and would go on to be admired by both critics and moviegoers alike. However, Sony was looking for a bigger financial return, with the books being a massive phenomenon, and ultimately decided against Fincher's planned trilogy. David Fincher is probably one of the greatest working directors of our time, and Dragon Tattoo surely helps in that debate. It marks a time where the director would go back to his dark roots of former projects like Seven or Zodiac, as opposed to the lighter material he had been experimenting with prior to Dragon Tattoo, which were things like The Curious Case of Benjamin Button and The Social Network. Dragon Tattoo also proves that an adaptation can be on a par with the source material, which is no easy task. Our 2 stars both bring in some massive powerhouse performances, and it comes as no surprise that Rooney Mara would be nominated for an Oscar for her portrayal as Lisbeth Salander. Daniel Craig is also brilliant on screen as Mikael Blomkvist, giving a very different character than we are used to seeing from him. Together, the two create an intense and steamy relationship that you'd think wouldn't work, but completely overturns our expectations with the development of their unorthodox chemistry. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross bring a beautiful and haunting score like only the pair can, and it's easy to see why Fincher continues to work with the outfit year after year. Dragon Tattoo is a complicated murder mystery that goes against traditional movie structure and targets 5 acts instead of your usual 3, but Fincher somehow continues to keep you engrossed where the runtime feels shorter than it actually is. The film has to be amongst the best of Fincher's filmography and is easily one of the best to debut in the year 2011. I would have loved to see what the trilogy would have looked like, but the film also has legs of its own and offers fair enough closure. 4 fuck you, you fucking fucks out of 5. Thank you.
Nice, dude.
All right, man. What is your take on this film? I know last week you said you had never seen it, so I'm excited to see what you have to say about it. What kind of impact it had on you as a fan of pop culture and a big fan of Fincher.
Yeah, man, I think this was the only Fincher movie I hadn't seen in all these years, decade plus. Just kind of fell through the cracks. So I was super excited when you announced that this is your pick. Um, it's Fincher, dude. It's Fincher to the core. I think that I think by like obviously like people like us who love film and consume as much as we can, we know how great he is. But I think he's still kind of like I would say kind of not appreciated by a lot of like mainstream moviegoers and people who are into film. He is definitely our if Peele is like our new master of horror. I think until someone takes it away, he is definitely the king of suspense, master suspense. I don't think anyone does it as good as him. And then Rooney Mara, dude, her portrayal of that character is, like we said I said off air, is an all-timer, man. That Oscar nomination is very deserved. I never got to look up who else was nominated in that year, that category, but man, I can't stress enough that she was probably my favorite part of that film.
She did. I do know that she lost to Meryl Streep, and I mean, come on, it's fucking Meryl.
Come on. Yes, Meryl Streep has a fucking 200 Oscars, bro.
Yeah.
They couldn't just throw Mara a little bone and be like, here for this once in a lifetime fucking role. And I don't think she's as great as she is. I don't think she's done anything since then that great, right?
No. And talking about Mara a little further, she was largely unknown when she took this role. She has a bit part in The Social Network. She was the final girl in the atrocious Nightmare on Elm Street remake from 2009. So she wasn't a big actress, and I know there was a lot of people up, a lot of big names up for this role, including Scarlett Johansson, believe it or not. And so I think that her getting this role was perfect because she was not a big star, so you could take her seriously, and the amount of dedication she had for somebody for a role that I think it was pretty low paying, and a lot of people kind of turned it down because of that. They weren't offering a lot, but the thing with Rooney Mara is, and you might know this, you might not, she comes from royalty where I believe her family owns both the Giants and the Steelers. So she did.
Isn't that fucking insane?
Yeah. So she doesn't need money. She could have done this for free, right? And it wouldn't have made a difference to her. Shout out to her sister Kate Mara, who is also in the House of Cards and Shooter, and has done some pretty cool stuff in her career as well. But yes, this is a career-defining character piece for Rooney Mara, and she did a beautiful job, and definitely gives Noomi Rapace, with all the respect to her, a run for her money in the actress from the Swedish trilogy, right? And diving deep into this research, I do know that there's a lot of crazy things, like Rooney Mara dropped a lot of weight without even Fincher asking, because she wanted to be more physically. She wanted to look physically more like the way that Stieg Larsson described the character in the original books. So she dropped all this weight to look kind of frail, which she did a great job at. She looks incredible and kind of haunting. All those piercings and everything are real, including the nipple piercings, real.
It's insane.
I read that she left. She took everything out after filming, except for the nipple piercings, because they're super painful, and she thought that they might, continue with the trilogy. So she left them in for that reason, which is insane. Insane. But not to take away the spotlight, if you had more to say, continue.
No, dude. All also I was going to say is that it's so good to see, seeing Daniel Craig in roles where like this and like Knives Out. I think he plays an awesome fucking like investigator reporter type. And both roles obviously are fucking super kind of way different. But it's good to see, especially during, this was kind of in the middle of his reign, right, as Bond.
Well, okay. So the interesting thing about that is although he was established as Bond, I think he wasn't necessarily a household name yet, and that's why they were able to kind of nab him to do something unorthodox like this. He had a bunch of films come out that the year 2011. Cowboys and Aliens, Dreamhouse, Tintin. He's in all of it, including Dragon Tattoo. All those movies came out in the same year, and they all kind of, with the exception of Dragon Tattoo, they kind of meddled at the box office. And then, and then he comes out with Skyfall, and I feel like Skyfall makes shit tons of money and really solidifies him as a bankable actor who can charge more money to kind of do what he wants. And I feel like that played a huge role in them not really being able to offer what he was asking for to come back for a second one, unfortunately.
Obviously, it's a Fincher movie, so it's going to be fucking shot beautifully. The cinematography by Jeff Cronenweth is fucking awesome. And then to top it all off, the fucking music, dude, by the GOATs, Reznor and Ross, man. Those fools can fucking score me taking a shit and you'd be in suspense.
Yeah, it's true.
And I think they won this is the year, one of the years they won that Oscar for this. Very deserving.
I will do a cheap plug and say that I believe Soul is back in theaters for limited time right now. I don't think that ever got a theatrical release because it was released during the height of the pandemic, and Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor also scored that film. So go check that out if you haven't yet, and you want to experience, you want to cry yourself a river in a theater setting.
It's such a underrated Pixar film, and yeah, that score is fucking awesome. I think. Do you own it? I own it on vinyl.
Yes, I have it.
Yeah, I think Disney's doing that. They're doing that. Luca turning red. Giving you the chance to see it on the big screen. But yeah, definitely check that out if you haven't.
Now that we've kind of explored the characters a little bit, let's. Do you want to talk about this crazy ass plot a little bit? So when we start off, Mikael Blomkvist, who is played by Daniel Craig, is a pretty established editor and journalist for a magazine in Sweden. And he's kind of being strong-armed by this entrepreneur, Winterstrom, who has slapped him with a lawsuit and has kind of fucked up his name and, put him in debt. And he doesn't know really what to do. So then this wealthy old money kind of dude, Henrik Wenger, comes into the picture and offers Blomkvist this weird opportunity to investigate the disappearance of his niece Harriet, which happened 40 plus years ago from when this movie takes place. Bloomfist kind of reluctantly agrees, and it gets kind of crazy, man.
Spirals out of control.
Yeah. Over a lengthy amount of time. And then, of course, Lisbeth Salander is actually having her own kind of subplot for a lot of the time, where her and Bloomfist don't even meet until an hour into the film, almost, which is crazy, structural wise. But Lisbeth, to give some backstory on her character, she is awarded the state despite being 23 years old, because I guess she had burned her father at 12 years old. So she has to have a guardian to see over her and make sure that she's doing okay, and she can't have access to her own funds and everything. And unfortunately, at the beginning of the film, her original caretaker, who seems like he was a good dude, has some kind of stroke and is not fit to take care of Lisbeth anymore. So then she's kind of handed off to this other gentleman who is a despicable piece of shit guy who basically makes her do, tries to exchange sexual favors for money. And I think Elizabeth is not, she's disgusted, but is kind of willing to do what she has to do to get by. And at first is, kind of complacent in it. And then the second time when she meets up with this, her caretaker, he straight up violently rapes her, which Lisbeth was kind of smart and video, records the entire incident and leads her on a just path of revenge, where when she returned for money, she gets, or this guy gets his comeuppance, and she gets her revenge and rapes him, for lack of a better word, with a crazy, ginormous dildo, and tattoos him violently all over the chest that he's a rapist pig. And they show us all of this visually, and it is it's very, very hard to watch, but also I think, as you and I being fans of women and against incel behavior, it was awesome to see such a big swing in presented in film, where the overarching theme, I think, in the books, in the trilogy, is men hating women, and to see Elizabeth kind of get her revenge and turn the tables the way that she does is very, uplifting, as much as something as dark within its subject matter can be with this. Crazy shit.
Yeah, man, that scene is definitely like a need. If you're listening to this episode, you haven't seen that movie, definitely if that type of stuff and sexual assault is a trigger warning. You definitely need to be careful watching it, but I think it's needed for the story, and needed to show you how bad ass of a person Elizabeth is. But yeah, again, it's definitely a hard watch, man. It's a hard watch. It's one of those things where it's like something you just can't take your eyes off, because it's happening to such a piece of shit.
Yeah,
it's brutal, and you're like kind of like mouth open, jaw on the floor type thing. But like I said, it's very needed for the story and to show you that she's not fucking around in anything she does.
No, I love that dialogue where she's kind of telling him how it's going to go down, and that he's not going to have any kind of contact with her unless she's contacting him, and how she's videotaped, everything, and that if she finds, she's taking the keys to his flat, and if she randomly pops in and he has a woman in here, that she's going to do worse to him, just completely switches the dynamic of when the movie starts. And what is it she said? Oh, she's like, I came over here asking for money, and I thought it was just going to be like another blowjob, as disgusting as that already is, but I misjudged just how sick you are. But dude, yeah, Mara, like all of her delivery as the character is so, she just sells the shit out of it, the entire time. Like her nuances, her idiosyncrasies as this kind of recluse hacker, it totally, you buy into it, especially us coming from subculture backgrounds. I feel like we see you see similar people like that all the time, and she totally just sells that character so much. Go ahead.
It's one of the reasons. It's one of the reasons, the main reason why I would want a sequel. And even now, I think it could still work if it just followed her. I think now, kind of Daniel Craig is done with Bond, and maybe he would have that time now, and maybe they could try to get him on the cheap a little bit. But even if it was just, if they did the sequel and kind of got someone else to play Daniel Craig, Craig's character, I think if she reprised her role, like, it would still be fucking awesome, and I would still be there day one to see it.
I wonder what the Fede Alvarez version would have looked like had they just cast Rooney Mara still, if that would have had any kind of influence on the money that it made, because I know the sequel that they put out was made for $40 million, which is substantially different than $90 million that this one was took to make. And it's still the girl in the spider's web only made like $35 million.
I'm pretty sure it would have, we love Fede, big champion of all his stuff, but I'm sure him taking it over and her not being in it, and obviously Daniel Craig not being it, kind of hindered its release. I haven't seen it. Have you? You said you've seen that second one?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not very strong. It's kind of forgettable flick, especially when you're comparing it to this. So it's unfortunate for Fede that he took that on. But since you've seen it, since you haven't seen it yet, I definitely would say to check it out, because maybe you'll see something that I didn't. But going back to this, so after the rape and everything happens, Bloomfist, Daniel Craig's character, realizes that he's going to need some help. So he ends up, even though Lisbeth Salander has been in his orbit kind of the entire time, they still don't know about each other. And then he kind of ends up hiring her as his assistant. And and that's when we kind of get into the backstory of the Wenger family, and how the Wenger's brother, who is Harriet and Martin's dad, had ties to the Nazis and was an abuser. And then it's revealed that he was the first person that started the kind of serial killings, and they were based on these Bible passages, as a reason, a motive as to why he was carrying through with these killings. And then we find out that that Harriet had killed her father, and it kind of made it look like a drowning. And she ends up assuming the identity of her cousin, and is able to sneak out of Sweden and assume another identity in London, right? And so, and then it's also revealed that Martin, played by the great Skarsgård, kind of takes over the father's role after he's killed, and becomes a serial killer of all of his own, and had continued with the killings, and that's why Harriet had gotten out of there, because not only was she being molested and stuff by her father before she killed him, then Martin took over and was also doing all this weird shit with her. So then she got out of there, and once kind of skipping to the end of the film, once Blomkvist, or Daniel Craig's character, figures out that it is, or he's very certain that Martin is a serial killer, and he gets caught outside of Martin's house. That leads us into this insane kind of final showdown between the three of them. And let me tell you, man, Skarsgård is one hell of a villain. He doesn't even have that much screen time within this. He kind of jumps in and out, just like the late Christopher Plummer, R.I.P. But Skarsgård as Martin Wenger is fucking brilliant and scary and chilling. And yeah, that interaction that Blomkvist has with them in his kill room is very effective and very Fincher.
Yeah. Yeah, no, even in those scenes, like the scene in the beginning where he's having dinner with Daniel Craig and his wife, even in those scenes, those type of scenes, dude, he just he's one of those actors, man, that demands attention, yeah. And even in the littlest of scenes, he brings to life these characters, and especially in this movie, that are that just jump off the screen, and that final showdown with all three of them, man, is one of Fincher's best, man.
And then the music that
yes,
that Martin puts on, sail away, sail away, sail away. I guess that was Daniel Craig's idea, because they were looking,
really?
Yeah, they were looking for something that would be very off-putting. And he was all, dude, we got to put this song on, and that everybody started laughing because they thought it was a joke. And he's like, no, I'm being serious. And then they put it in. And another thing that was crazy to me is, I guess Daniel Craig, when they string him up and everything, that's all real.
Okay, see, I was going to ask you that, because that looks like, when he's with the bag over his head, that's fucking terrifying, dude, and it's all real.
Yeah, especially when they're suffocating him, they really did.
That's fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah, he really allowed them to do that, and I think he actually passed out from the bag at one point. I mean, it makes sense though, because didn't he do a lot of Bond stunts as well? Like he seems like he's very he's about that life and not unafraid, apparently. But yeah. And I'm glad, that they did all of that stuff in real time, because it shows on screen, and it, I don't know, it just makes for them, a more immersive experience, rather than cutting away and doing little shortcuts or whatnot. When you see him gasping for air, you're just like, damn, this is horrifying. You're not sure, upon a first watch, you don't know if Lisbeth is going to be able to figure out where he's at, or if he's done, and Martin reveals that he knew that Lisbeth was in the library, kind of looking through all the history of his family or whatnot, and that he had to deal with the security, that the security was going to tip off Martin when Lisbeth left, so that way he could be finished up with Blomkvist and meet meet her at Bloomfist's, cottage and ultimately kill her as well. But, Lisbeth being Lisbeth, she's able to slip by the security and create that little pocket, a window of time where Martin was unaware of where she was actually at. And, she's being the smart female that she is, she's able to figure out that Bloomfist is in peril. Martin has him, locked up in his kill room. She figures that out, and she ends up getting in to the house and breaks Martin's jaw with a golf club.
Gnarly scene, dude. He's running away. He has that big fucking gash
Yeah.
across his fucking face, dude.
If you watch when she swings on him, it looks like you can see the teeth flying across the room too, And then she delivers this incredible line where she looks at Bloomfist while he's on the floor trying to gather himself and says, "May I kill him?" It just goes after him like no fucks given whatsoever. Gets on her bike. He gets into an accident because he's scared. And she's about to just, probably empty a clip into him, and his SUV explodes before she's able to get to him. And you would think that would be the end of the movie, but as I said, it's a 5-act structure. So instead of just leaving all of these loose ends, they continue on with the story, and they kind of go back to the entrepreneur Wennerstrom, who is probably gonna get off because he has too much money. So then Lisbeth asks Bloomfist, like, "Hey, can I borrow 50 grand? It's an investment. I'm gonna do something special, but don't worry, you're gonna get your money back." And without hesitating, Bloomfist is like, "Yeah, okay, whatever you say," And I feel like that for us narratively is to signify the first time in Lisbeth's life that somebody has trusted her, and that you can see like in her face that she's taken aback by this, and I feel like she almost like falls in love with him over this, and she ends up stealing all of Wennerstrom's money, putting it into her own accounts, and essentially framing him, which leads to his execution. She comes back, gives Bloomfist back his money, and is going to write a love letter. She writes a love letter to him, buys him a jacket from an old photo that she found of him, an old leather jacket that I guess he had like in his early 20s as a kind of a gift. And then she sees that he has kind of gotten back with his ex. And ultimately, decides to not give him the letter or the jacket, throws it in the trash outside of where she sees them, and kind of rides off on her bike, which is an interesting kind of dreary end. Was supposed to kind of set up the next film, but at the same time, as I said in my write-up, I felt like this works well on its own.
Yeah, it does. I didn't think about that before you had mentioned it. It does work well. It's just kind of ending, and it ties up all the loose ends, so you're not kind of left like wondering what the fuck. But it doesn't kind of on a somber, shitty note.
It does, especially.
And you
go ahead.
Have you read any of the other books?
I've read the first one.
I didn't think about it, but you're right. Like, it's kind of just kind of a take on how shitty men can be, and at the end, you kind of think it's not going to be that way, and he gets back with his wife and kind of does her wrong.
Yeah, because I think before you see that reveal, you're like, oh yeah, Mikhail, man, he's like a pretty solid fucking guy, Like he is, he's like a good dude compared to all of the men from Lisbeth's past. And then it seems like he kind of falls back into his old life now that he's, fixed all of this stuff from his fixed all his problems, and then he kind of is selfish in that instance, and it's unfortunate for Lisbeth. But I don't know if I said this on the show yet, but do you know what the actual Swedish? So this author Stig Larsson, when he wrote this trilogy of books as a passion project, he never knew it was going to be big, and he passed away before they were even published. His wife actually got them published for him after he had died. But and they're originally written in Swedish. And do you know what the first book, like what the title translates to?
No, I don't.
I think it's Men Who Hate Women was the title.
That's pretty spot on.
And then, when they translated it into English, they kind of changed it to The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which is pretty insane to think about. Widely different titles, but yeah, that
crazy to think that he never saw any of that, how big the books got, and then how big this movie was.
Yeah, I think that this movie was a big hit, especially for a very, very dark R-rated movie. But the fact that they had a planned franchise, and how big the books were, and how when you would walk around you would just see random people reading this shit, they wanted like Twilight Avengers type of success for this first one, and the fact that it only cleared 200 200 plus, and then they spent, so it took 90 million to make, and then you're factoring in this had a big marketing push, which was probably another 50 million. So then when you factor that in, the return really isn't that much, especially with what they were probably thought that they were going to make, whereas upwards of probably, if they, to do a sequel, to warrant a sequel, they probably need to pull in 500 to 600 million, with Avengers coming out a few years after that, easily pulling in 650 million. That's what they wanted. So it kind of makes sense that they would have gotten scared with the reaction from people, because I don't think it really pulled in that much money in the States, as well. Like a domestic box office wasn't great for Dragon Tattoo, which is fucking crazy to me, because I went to see this maybe 2 or 3 times in the theater, and each time it was like an insane, I would put it up there on the level of when I went to see Gone Girl, like where you're just like, this is some of the best shit that I've seen as far as like crime dramas. Like, it doesn't get better than this.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, for some reason, people just don't go watch movies like this, I guess, in the theater the way that they should. And it's sad.
Was it I don't remember at all. You think Mark? I mean, no, because the books, dude, it doesn't make any sense. I was gonna say, like, marketing wise, do you think they could have gone a little bit bigger?
Yeah, I think that also it was maybe marketed a little bit differently than what it should have been. Like, maybe people thought it was going to be more of a romantic type deal, which it really is not. I mean, there's elements there of that, right? But it's so much more. So I don't know. I in my research, I do know that Sony, I think, were mad at Fincher the way that he chose to promote this, and they try to kind of blame him for the box office returns. I don't think you haven't given us a rating yet. What would you rate this?
I think I'd go a little bit above your 4. I think I'd go 4.5.
Okay.
I think that's what I did. I put on my Letterboxd. I think I have to watch it again to really kind of put, like, in my ranks of Fincher. But even so, now I think it's pretty high up there. Zodiac is still my favorite. Fincher flick. But that one's up there, dude. What about you? Where would you put it in your Fincher list?
It's really hard.
Benjamin Button's number one. Oh, I know you fucking Brad Pitt loving.
I do have that criterion. I'll tell you that.
You would. He would. Everybody who's listening, he would have that criterion. If you were to pick through the Criterion catalog and it'd be something you think Wes would have, that would be the one he would have.
I think this would be like top 3 Fincher.
Yeah.
For me, you know. Since I feel like we're coming to a close here for Dragon Tattoo, I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you, what are we going to do for next week?
You know what? I think it's one of my favorite movies of all time. It is in my top 10. I always talk about it. And since we did Fincher, I think it's a good kind of bridge to the master of suspense. But I finally want to do Rope by Alfred Hitchcock, sir.
Oh, okay. Going old school.
Go back to 1948.
And I know I kind of robbed you of this with Evil Dead Rise, so it'll be cool to go back and talk about an underappreciated Hitchcock flick.
Yes, it's probably, I think, his most underappreciated flick. I know you haven't seen it, right?
I haven't seen it yet. This will be the rare first time watch.
But yeah, man, it's his first film in color. The way we'll get into it, but the way it's done is why he's the master, man. And I think this was on the round of I think last year they did his big like 4 or 5 movies. I think this one was on the round of, it got the HD remaster.
Very exciting stuff. Can't wait for that. But before we wrap up on this episode, I almost forgot to bring up one of the best things about Dragon Tattoo is the intro title credits with a cover from Led Zeppelin. It's Immigrant Song. It's Karen O on the vocals. It's fucking Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor. I think the guy's name who was in charge of the that sequence was Tim Miller, if my memory serves me correctly. He basically is digitally recreating all of the biggest elements from all of this trilogy. It's telling you all of the Lisbeth's like life, traumatic elements that she goes through for the 3 books or what have you in just a couple minutes. And you have all of this black kind of goo shit happening, and it's very intense, and one of the best title sequences I think in a long, long time. It's super like comes out of nowhere too. Yeah. And that song slaps, dude. Karen O. Crazy shit.
I don't remember who did it, but I think there was like I want to say it's like 5 or 6 LP box set. I'm not sure who did it.
Oh, for
I think
this,
it's
right?
6 LP.
Yeah.
For this, yeah, and that's on that. So if you have that, first off, I hate you. But second, you lucky SOB. I think it's like numbered, hand numbered or something like that, and like on Discogs and eBay, it goes for like, I've seen the highest on Discogs like a $1,200 or some shit, dude.
I'm not sure if there had different tiers or editions, but I almost bought one. It was the box set, and it came with the Lisbeth's razor blade necklace that actually, when you take it off, it's a hidden USB flash drive. Yes.
Fucking awesome.
And furthermore, if you don't have the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo from 2011, pick up there's a box set deluxe edition Blu-ray that it should still be around. You should be able to find it. It's gorgeous artwork. One of those kind of paper books that you open up and everything folds out. It has both, the Blu-ray movie, the extras, and then it also comes with the DVD edition. And the DVD itself looks like a burnt CD that says a dragon tattoo in black Sharpie, which is a callback to Lisbeth being a hacker of sorts, and that's genius, first of all. And I guess that created a bunch of confusion with DVD sales. People thought that they had had obtained some kind of weird bootleg version of the movie.
That's fucking awesome. Yeah, pick that shit up. Kind of going like off the rails a little bit, like we usually do. But you brought it up. I know I didn't bring it up in my news, but physical media is kind of fucking dying, dude. We have all these retailers kind of not selling movies and Blu-rays and shit like that anymore. Best Buy's finally taking all their stuff away, and there's little sections at Target and stuff like that. Obviously, there's online retailers still, but you can't really go. There's not a lot of big places you can go and pick up things physically. So if you do love fucking music and movies and even TV shows, dude, go out and get physical fucking editions of your favorite media, whether it be CDs, vinyl, DVDs, VHS, Blu-rays, 4Ks. It's might seem like it's dumb to have something physical when you can pop open, put on your Apple TV and open Netflix or Peacock or Max or Hulu, but owning physical media, dude, I always think back to that Guillermo quote he had a couple months ago, and it's like, you're like the keeper of that fucking thing, dude, and like a librarian of stuff like that. Media and hopefully everything like that physically is kind of dying. I know records, vinyl has kind of gone mainstream, but yeah, man, go to your local record store. I know there's a whole bunch of spots in San Diego because you always tell me about it. Google it, find your secondhand stores, and go buy shit, because it's awesome owning that physical stuff. And that could never be taken away from you, other than, unlike streaming, where you don't really own those movies that you buy or those video games that you buy. Anytime those licenses can be taken away, and you don't own that shit anymore.
This episode was a lot of fun. We cleared a lot of area in a short amount of time. Thank you, Ryan, for hopping on and talking movies with me. It's always a great time. Great release. Our unofficial therapy sessions here. And I can't wait to talk about Hitchcock next week, dude.
Hell yeah.
All right. So, with that being said, I think we're going to get out of here. That's Ryan. I'm Wesley. We go by Drop the Mic. We're signing off. Saying good fight and good night.
Your report, very detailed. Just for me, it wasn't very entertaining.
It wasn't meant to be.
When I write about people, I try to entertain the reader.
Venestrom wasn't entertained much.
Your boss, Romansky, now he tells me you only do jobs that interest you, so I suppose I should be flattered. You gonna sit down? He also says that you're the one he goes to when the job is, sensitive. That's the word he used, sensitive. I'm gonna use illegal, because That's what it was when you hacked into my computer. And I'm not going to do anything about that. I could, but I won't. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a story, and if it entertains you, maybe you'll decide to help me research further. And if not, I'll do the washing up and you'll never see me again. You know, you should eat that.
What kind of research?
Elizabeth. Oh, can I call you Elizabeth? I want you to help me catch a killer of women.